Imagine this. You wake up in the middle of a blazing summer, about 20,000 years ago. Your mouth is as dry as the Sahara, your tongue glued to the roof of your mouth, and your first thought is, where's my bottle of spring water? Pause. Sorry, no plastic bottles, no Brita filters, no 7-Eleven slushies. Welcome to the Stone Age, where finding one sip of clean water was harder than finding Wi-Fi in the jungle. Picture a caveman holding a massive rock, banging it like he's about to crack open a soda can. He stares at it, dead serious, then yells, "There must be water inside!" Pause. Spoiler, there isn't. But hey, when you're thirsty, you'll try anything. Voiceover trolling style, yes, they really thought rocks were juice boxes. Cue giant fiery text slamming onto the screen, "Welcome to the Stone Age," with explosive red, orange, and yellow letters, sound effects like boom and crackling fire. Here's the thing. Water wasn't just hydration, it was survival. No water, no energy to hunt, no strength to run from predators, no chance of making it to tomorrow. Cavemen had to treat water like treasure, and their daily routines were basically one long episode of Survivor Prehistoric Edition. And unlike you sipping an iced latte right now, they had to sweat for every drop. But let's be clear, cavemen weren't dumb. They had hacks, hilarious, sometimes dangerous hacks that kept them alive. And today, we're gonna troll guide you through those tricks. Spoiler, some of them worked, some of them ended with a stomachache that probably felt like being hit by a mammoth. So buckle up, because in this episode, you'll see exactly how Stone Age humans hunted for clean water. Tip number 1, they didn't start with fancy tools. They started with pure desperation and a bit of animal stalking. Teaser, because if you think finding water is hard, wait until you see how cavemen threw parties. So here's where things get juicy, or should I say, watery. Cavemen had no Google Maps to type in nearest spring, but they did have something better. Nature itself. And trust me, they watched it more closely than you stalk your ex on Instagram. First hack, follow the animals. Yep, if you were a caveman and you saw deer trotting in one direction, you didn't think, "Oh, cute Bambi." No, you thought, "Water, let's follow the walking GPS with antlers." Birds, too, especially the little ones that circled low at dawn and dusk. They were basically prehistoric drones leading the way. Pause. Of course, sometimes you followed the wrong animal and ended up at a pile of, well, not water. Oops. Cavemen also read the ground like a book. Low valleys, spots where green plants thrived, or places where insects swarmed, those were giant neon signs screaming, "H2O here." Imagine our cavemen bending down, tasting dirt, and nodding like a wine connoisseur. Ah, yes, earthy, vintage mud. Must be water nearby. Voiceover snark. And that's how cavemen invented dirt tasting. Don't try this at home. Trees were another clue. Big leafy ones, like willows, were often nature's water detectors. If roots went deep, cavemen could dig near the base and sometimes find damp soil that eventually turned into a muddy puddle. And in caveman logic, muddy puddle equals 5-star spa. Picture him scooping with both hands, sipping like it's fine champagne. Add slurp sound effect, make it gross, make it funny. But here's the kicker. Insects. Mosquitoes buzzing in the evening? Annoying to you, but to a caveman, they meant, "Congrats, you've just unlocked level 2. Water is close." Imagine one guy celebrating while getting eaten alive by 50 mosquitoes. Voiceover troll, yep, hydration with a side of malaria. Free combo deal. Pause. For laugh. By now, you can tell cavemen were basically Sherlock Holmes with zero fashion sense. They pieced together animal tracks, green plants, buzzing bugs, and shady trees to crack the mystery of water. And while they didn't always get it right, when they did, it was life-saving. Or at least it meant another day not dying of thirst. But hey, spotting clues was just part 1. What about when there was no stream, no lake, and no puddle in sight? That's when cavemen got extra creative, like pulling water straight out of rocks and dirt. Teaser, because the Stone Age also had water dispensers, except they were made of stone. All right, so you followed deer, stalked mosquitoes, and maybe even licked a handful of dirt. Congrats, you're still alive. But what happens when there's no river, no puddle, and no green oasis waiting for you? That's when cavemen had to get inventive. And by inventive, I mean they started poking rocks like they were magical soda machines. Here's hack number 1. Hollow rocks. Rainwater often collected inside cracks or natural bowls carved into stone. Cavemen would crouch down, tilt their head sideways, and slurp it up like they'd just discovered a prehistoric Capri Sun. Add sound effect, slurp, pause, voiceover. Congratulations, you've just drunk half a liter of bird bath. Next trick, digging.
It's water.
If the soil was
Yes,
damp,
water.
cavemen knew
We
water might be
found
hiding
water.
just below the surface. So what did they do? They dug holes like crazy. Picture 3 hairy guys scratching at the ground with sticks and bones, sweating buckets until, squish, muddy water started seeping in. The celebration looked like a touchdown dance in the NFL. Of course, the first sip tasted like liquid dirt. Voiceover troll? Yes, refreshing, soil-flavored tea. Cue gag sound effect. And then there were plants. Certain roots and vines held water inside, and cavemen figured out you could hack them open and suck out the juice. Imagine a caveman holding a root like a giant prehistoric juice box, slurping and spraying water everywhere. Add cartoonish glug-glug audio. Voiceover? Move over coconut water, root water, now available in 0 stores near you. Another hilarious method, morning dew. Cavemen noticed leaves sparkling at dawn, and yes, they actually licked them. Picture one guy crawling around at sunrise, tongue out, like a giant prehistoric dog. Voiceover pause? Don't judge. You'd do the same if you were dying of thirst. Probably. But the ultimate Stone Age water dispenser hack was clay pots, made by nature itself. Sometimes, small basins in rock held enough rainwater to last days. Cavemen practically treated those as public fountains. Imagine a group crowded around, sipping together, then side-eyeing each other like, "Hey bro, don't double dip!" Add caveman grunts for comedy.
So yeah, water wasn't always from a nice clean spring. Sometimes it came from rocks, mud, roots, or just licking plants like an oversized gecko. But hey, desperate times, desperate hacks. Now you might wonder, okay, but was that water actually safe to drink? Spoiler, absolutely not. Which brings us to the next caveman genius move, filtering. Teaser, because if you think cavemen only drank swamp juice raw, wait until you see how they built prehistoric water filters. All right, let's be honest. Half the time, the water cavemen found looked more like a mud latte than anything drinkable. And yes, drinking it raw sometimes meant a one-way ticket to stomach disaster. So eventually, they got smart, or at least Stone Age smart. Enter the prehistoric water filter. No, it wasn't Brita, and no, it didn't come with a cute plastic jug. Instead, cavemen figured out that if you pour swap juice through layers of sand, charcoal, and cloth, well, animal skin, it actually came out a little less deadly. Imagine them stacking pebbles, sand, and burnt wood inside a hollow log, then slowly pouring water through it like they just invented Starbucks cold brew. Pause. Voiceover. Congratulations, your mud is now slightly less muddy. Charcoal was the real MVP. After a campfire, cavemen discovered burnt wood chunks not only made food taste better, they could also soak up some of the gross stuff in water. Picture a caveman staring at blackened wood, dipping it into a puddle, then sipping with wide eyes like, "Whoa, this tastes less like poop." Add crowd cheer effects for comedic drama. Of course, filtration wasn't perfect. Bugs, bacteria, weird slime, all still in there. But hey, at least it wasn't chunky anymore. Voiceover trolling. Smooth water, the Stone Age upgrade you didn't know you needed. And then came the sniff test. Yes, really. Cavemen would smell the water before drinking. If it stank too much, they'd either try again or force the youngest guy in the group to test it first. Picture a caveman reluctantly sipping while everyone else waits, then pausing dramatically before either nodding or keeling over. Pause. Voiceover. And that, my friends, was the original health inspector. Some tribes even boiled water once they figured out how to control fire. Imagine a caveman holding a hot rock, dropping it into a pit of muddy liquid, steam rising everywhere, and the group cheering like they'd discovered magic. Add sound effect, bubble bubble whoosh. Voiceover snark. Congrats, you've just invented soup, water soup. So yeah, cavemen had their own filters, taste tests, and boiling tricks. And thanks to these hacks, they managed to stay alive long enough to become us. Pause. Which is either inspiring or terrifying. But here's the fun part. Once cavemen found a clean stream, it wasn't just about drinking. Nope, they turned it into the Stone Age version of a nightclub. Teaser, because nothing says prehistoric party like fresh water and questionable dancing. So finally, after days of licking leaves, digging holes, and sipping questionable mud smoothies, our cavemen stumble upon the jackpot, a crystal-clear stream. Birds are chirping, the water sparkles in the sunlight, and the whole tribe goes absolutely wild. Imagine them charging toward it in slow motion, arms flailing, background music swelling like it's the finale of a Hollywood movie. Pause. Voiceover. Yep. Hydration never looked so prehistoric. Add comedy SFX, giant slurps, burps, and someone choking dramatically. Because let's face it, even cavemen knew how to turn survival into chaos. But the real magic? Water wasn't just for drinking. Streams became their social hubs. Picture cavemen washing mammoth fur coats, gossiping about who stole whose bone, or trying to invent synchronized swimming thousands of years too early. One guy does a belly flop, cue loud splash, while the others grunt in laughter. Voiceover. Welcome to Club H2O, where the cover charge is just staying alive. And don't even get me started on the Stone Age parties. Once they found a reliable water source, tribes celebrated with food, dancing, and loud chanting that probably scared every animal within 10 miles. Imagine torches lighting up the night, cavemen stomping to drum beats made from hollow logs, and water being tossed around like champagne in a Formula One victory lap. Voiceover pause. Hydration and humiliation. 2 for the price of 1. But here's the punchline. Those ridiculous hacks, from licking morning dew to boiling swamp juice, worked well enough to keep humans alive. Without them, none of us would be here scrolling YouTube today. Kinda humbling, right? Pause, then trolley punch. So next time your tap water tastes funny, just remember, you could be drinking dirt soup like your ancestors. As the party rages on in our mental movie, we fade out on a wide shot of cavemen dancing around the stream, chanting nonsense, while a narrator drops the final teaser. But wait until you see how cavemen threw parties with fire. Yup, water was just the warm-up act.